Welcome back. Jimmy Kimmel's been hosting his late night show for over 20 years. Can you believe that? Well, it's very fitting considering that his all-time idol is David Letterman. Last week, I spent some time with him at his studio in Los Angeles, and here's part of our conversation. Jimmy, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming.
I had no idea you've been at this for 22 years.
Almost. In January, it'll be 22 years, yeah.
I was going to ask you if you saw comedy as an opportunity to push back against whether it's wokeism or whether it's the sort of groupthink on the right or the left.
I feel like always enjoyed having kind of a corporate villain. Like when we started doing The Man Show, ABC wanted to put it on, and I love that idea because I love the idea of being on this wholesome family network that still showed like Disney movies on Sunday nights. I love the idea of being on, and then Disney decided, oh, then we're not going to put this on. I think now people obviously are more sensitive. I'm personally not more sensitive. I think there's an idea that I am more sensitive. When comedians say things, I always look at it within the framework of a comedian saying something.
They're comedians, right?
I'm never offended by anything when somebody is trying to be funny. And I love all kinds of comics you might not think I like. I do. I love. I think it's overstated, the whole thing.
Everybody's, a little oversensitive.
There's oversensitivity, and then there's oversensitivity to the oversensitivity. Does this make any sense?
It makes a lot of sense. You were talking about pushing back against corporate villains. Nobody was better than your hero and a guy that I grew up absolutely loving, David Letterman.
Yeah, that's true.
How big of an impact in your life was Letterman?
Bigger than my parents. Very big. In high school, people are known for this or that. I was known as the kid who watched David Letterman. That was like my identity.
You did what Letterman did, and you were at a college radio station.
Well, yeah, I did. That's true.
What was your personalized nameplate?
My license plate said L8NITE in Nevada. And then I actually went to the DMV, and the lady said, "Oh, you're a Letterman fan." I said, "Oh, yeah." I go, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" She goes, "You think you're the only one who watches the show?" I was like, "All right."
You got out of college, and you went into radio, right?
I think that's a nice way of putting it. I didn't get out of college.
You stumbled out of college?
Wandered out of college, yeah. I was never serious about college. I was really just doing it in the hopes that I would get a morning radio job somewhere. And I got a morning radio job in Seattle. It was my first, paying job.
Right.
And it was very exciting. And I could not wait to get to work. The weekends felt long to me. I've not had that experience since then, but I just couldn't wait to get on the air. And then they fired us after 10 months. And I was off the air for another 10 months.
That is awesome. So you started this show, and then Trump happened, and we all manned the stations. Kind of the same thing with you, where you didn't want to get political.
Many are now seriously questioning whether Trump is healthy enough to be running for president. So what does he do? Well, he does what he always does. He questions whether his opponent is healthy enough to be running for president. Dr. Doolittlehands was up attacking Kamala's medical records.
But you felt a necessity to, especially because of your son. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think that was more related to mainstream republicanism and this idea that it's not okay to have socialized health care, but it's fine to have socialized education. If your baby is going to die, and it doesn't have to, it shouldn't matter how much money you make. I think that's something that, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or something else, we all agree on that, right? We do. None of it really makes sense. And it just so happened my son had an open heart surgery, and I was just looking at these families and thinking well, it's hard enough just to take off from work to come be here all day and make sure somebody is here with your kid, the medical expenses. And then, I started taking interest in it. Just so happens I'm sitting in a children's hospital that is funded largely by donations, but also by the government. And I feel like I need to say something. I feel like I need to make something positive out of this very scary thing that happened to our family.
You also got involved in another issue being from Las Vegas.
The deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. The shooter opening fire with an automatic weapon from his 32nd floor hotel room at the Mandalay Bay Resort.
It's just been shocking. Most Americans support common sense gun safety laws.
It's hard to believe that we've done nothing and we let this happen. We let it happen.
But you decided to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, it was my hometown. I felt, I had to say something. Well, hello, everyone. Here we are again in the aftermath of another terrible, inexplicable, shocking and painful tragedy, this time in Las Vegas. I don't like to speak about those things. It's very hard for me. I like to go out there and goof around.
Right.
And obviously, the human tragedy, it's hard to even process. And what's even harder to process is that we don't do anything about it. Even though we're not all, but most of us believe in background checks.
90% universal.
Getting a hold of this, but half the country goes ahead and elects politicians who don't represent their views because they're getting money from a group and they're getting an endorsement from a group that has power, that is consolidated, and it's disgusting.
You and I have something in common. We met our wives on our show.
Right.
Talk about meeting your wife on the show. And
my wife and I, we worked together for a good amount of time. I think maybe like 7 years before we became romantically involved. I always tell her that she had her eye on me the whole time. She denies it.
She knew what she was doing. Exactly.
She was figuring out ways to bewitch me, but yeah, we work together. I'm in this building where our studio is, and she's in the next building. We have meetings and that.
Does that work well?
It works pretty well.
Any conflicts at all?
Sometimes, yeah, we have conflicts. We have
about the show.
Yeah, we have. Oh, well, certainly conflicts, personal conflicts. Yes,
yeah,
there are many. But yeah, even today we had an argument about a clip. She wanted a clip in the show, and I felt it was too long and really got into the weeds. And she said, "No, you have to play it." I said, "Everyone already saw it on the internet yesterday." Yeah. She said, "You need to show it." I said, "I'm trying to inject some comedy into the monologue." And she said, "Since when?" And I stopped responding.
Oh, my God.
Text. Yeah.
We'll have more from my sit-down with Jimmy Kimmel next, including who he says is his favorite interview guest. And we also talked about the focus of most of his monologues these days, Donald Trump.
And I have to keep reminding myself, he's not just running for president. He's running to stay out of prison. And that's a pretty powerful thing. He is literally running for his freedom.